Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Duncan. It's been a couple of weeks since my last video. Um, I've just been kind of busy with work and personal life stuff, and um, also with like the news, current stuff going on. I really just haven't felt like making a video. It just hasn't really been something that appealed to me. Um, but I have been watching a ton of BookTube, and I don't, maybe this is just me being a little self-deprecatory, but I don't feel like me making videos is relevant or important or anything but kind of selfish right now. But I've been enjoying watching a lot of other people making videos. I'm very happy they're making videos. And I don't know how their videos are that different from what I would be doing, but it's definitely been worthwhile. I've been watching a ton of BookTube, and one of these days I'm gonna have to do a recommendation video. I mean, I do follow a ton of amazing booktubers, especially a lot of small ones that are just like, I don't know how they don't have more followers because they're so good. Um, but anyway, I've got a bit of a book haul here today. I got a mail haul. I very bad anti-capitalist, and I relented and buying books from a big chain store. Um, but I live out in the countryside, and it's the easiest way to get books. Um, I am supporting smaller presses though, so they're giving them to the big stores, so, well, selling to the big stores, so I hope I'm still helping them out a little bit. And they're not always easy to buy books from small presses, especially if they're American small presses coming shipping to Canada and stuff. So it's a little bit easier if I can just buy them from a bookstore. But yeah, this is a kind of very representative of who I am as a reader and as a person. But the funny thing is, this year my reading goals or reading focus for this year and pretty much for probably the next few years was going to be read more Canadian books, just old books, all Canadian. Like I want to learn history, and I want to learn culture, because I'm living in Canada now for the foreseeable future. So I want to get caught up. Read more Scottish fiction and non-fiction. So I'm Scottish, but I realise I've read very little books from Scotland, but particularly history books, and I know very little about Scottish history. And the other thing was to read more Jewish books, particularly Jewish fiction, and it was just kind of like Jewish non-fiction, but I generally read at least one or two Holocaust survivor memoirs each year, and I kind of want to get away from those kind of Jewish books, just because I feel like I've read so many, and it's just one aspect of it's a very huge part of being Jewish, but there's so much more, and I feel like I've been a bit kind of narrow-minded. And my wife, my in-laws are Jewish, so that's kind of like I have a bit more of a vested interest in learning and embracing myself into the culture more so now. But anyway, the point is, I think like none of these books pretty much fall into those categories, apart from maybe one. Actually, one's a Canadian crime novel, mystery novel. But other than that, these are not part of my reading goals, reading focus, and I get very distracted like that. Very distracted. Anyway, I should just get on with it. First one up is absolute classic, but not the classic in the sense of many booktubers use. This is a classic, and this is my kind of classic. This is a pulp fiction classic. It's Anne Bannon's Odd Girl Out. Great, great reprint from Claes Press. They're a small press that focuses on sexuality, especially kind of say mainstream sexuality, or at least not your average, not your average heterosexual vanilla type stuff. The LGBTQ plus stories, fiction, and they focus on stuff like BDSM and romance and erotica novels too. Very inclusive, but yeah, this is an absolute classic in lesbian pulp fiction. Kind of one of the books that really started it, really. If you don't know much about pulp fiction, American paperback novels, or lesbian novels, a bit basically, there was this along with Vin Packer's, what was it called, Spring? Oh, I just looked it up too. Anyway, I think Vin Packer released a book in about 1952, which kind of kick-started the lesbian pulp fiction. And Anne Bannon was a big fan, wrote to Vin Packer, and she responded. She got advice for publishing, and basically, I think this was released in 1957. Actually became the second biggest seller in America in 1957. A fact that Anne Bannon never found out until 1983, which is quite astonishing. She was basically just, I think, a 22-year-old housewife when she married this. This is the 1950s, still very conservative. It's like 57, Eisenhower would probably still been in power. Very conservative, very conformative. She was kind of stuck in a typical urban housewife setting. She'd gone to college. She was a very educated woman. She actually later on became a linguist. But yeah, she was stuck in what sounded like an unhappy relationship. It sounded like she was also very much closeted lesbian, and basically she ended up writing 6 novels that became real lesbian classics. And yes, they're pulp fiction classics as well, but a lot of the time, paperback originals in the 1950s were really a great way to release stuff that was non-mainstream, especially more taboo subjects. So a lot of people think of pulp fiction with a lot of kind of trashy mystery stories and just kind of hack writer type things, but there's a lot of paperback originals, and especially from 1950s and 1960s, that really push the envelope and got a lot of subjects that were deemed immoral by the 1950 conservative standards and social norms into people's hands, basically. I mean, this is the reason why this was second best-selling book in 1957. I don't know what was the best-selling book of 1957. I'll have to look that up. But yeah, this was hugely popular. I think it was originally released on Gold Medal Books. They were a fantastic publisher. Really capitalized on a lot of their paperback original pressings. Yeah, anyway, I'm really looking forward. This is, if you're into American paperback fiction from the 1950s or into the the Pulp Fiction. This is an absolute classic. I've been wanting to read this for so long, and I'm so glad I finally got it. And thank you to Cleus Press for doing. I think this is like a 2001 edition. I think they reprinted this in 2001. But definitely thank you for Cleus Press for reprinting the whole series. Actually, the whole six Bebo Brinker stories. I won't bother going into synopsis, whatever. It's I'll probably do a review or a talk about this at some point. So yeah, just very excited about this one. So that's that one, and then two books that are very much me, but not something I read a ton of books about. But I definitely have Brianna of Brianna's Library to thank for these next two. First up is John Reed, 10 Days That Shook the World. So this is I'm really just getting into reading about socialism and revolutionaries and radicalism again. Really thanks to Brianna's Library. I believe that's her channel name. I'll link below and stuff. She's just incredible. Oh, they're just incredible. Booktuber discussing radical socialist books, and I realized I haven't read that much about the Russian Revolution, even though it's hugely influential. Really kind of set the course for Europe for the 20th century, really. Absolutely hugely influential, and this is just basically a really great journalist eyewitness account of the Russian Revolution, which is something I've been meaning to read for such a long time, and this is a great Penguin Classic copy. And Penguin Classic they do a good job of printing classic socialist, communist, socialist, anarchist writing. So the a couple of the other ones I want to get is the Lenin, was it State and Power or something? But the one I really want to get is the Kropotkin, Conquest of Bread. It's a really influential anarchist writing. But yeah, this is gonna be a good start. I really want to know more about the Russian Revolution. I know the basics, but I want to get more into it in depth. And I thought it was great to start off with this. And just pretty much read more about revolutions in general, especially. Don't really know much about the French Revolution either, and that's hugely influential. And just kind of a lot of read up about a lot of African insurgency groups and stuff. I'm really fascinated by revolutions and insurgencies and all that kind of stuff. But another absolute fascination I have, especially with this, is radical politics in the workplace. So this is living and dying on the factory floor. I'm actually going to read the back of this, because I don't know a ton about it. I just kind of found it on the website. This is from PM Press, who I'm not totally familiar with, but the name does ring a bell. I'll look them up, and they generally, it's radical writings. I mean, this is quite short, this is quite a small book, so definitely they seem to have more of the smaller kind of books and more manifesto based. So it's more probably more based on a kind of activist radical tradition than the more ideological political science kind of and tones that you get with some socialist publishers. and I probably lean more towards this kind of thing, especially when it's more like right on the factory floor rather than just an intellectual. Say like, you know, Marx is it's just dry intellectualism. You know, it's very important, I guess, but it's I really do like the down and dirty and actually shoulder to shoulder with the people, with the workers. Maybe I'll read the back of it. David Ranney's vivid memoir of his experiences in the factories of southeast Chicago and northwest Indiana between 1976 and 1982 is a glimpse into what it was like to live and work in one of the heaviest industrial concentrations in the world. The author walks the reader through the heart of the south side of Chicago, observing the noise, the polluted air, and the rich diversity of people on the street at all hours of the day and night. His stints at a machine shop, a railroad car factory, a structural steel shop, a box factory, a chemical plant, and a paper cup factory included a wildcat strike, an immigration raid, shop floor actions, protesting supervisors' abuses, serious injuries, a failed effort to unionize, and a murder. 40 years later, Rani returns to the south side to reveal what happened in the communities and the counties that had inhabited them, concluding with observations on race and class, the use of immigration policy for social control, and our ability to create a just society. So yeah, very interesting. I think basically David Rani is I think he's in academia. I think he's some sort of I think it's urban planning or political science or a bit of both. But he basically took out 6 years or quit as an academic to go and work on the factory floors and to basically kind of almost be an entryist and to try and introduce radical politics, radical activism on the factory floor. So I'd be very interested to learn all about that. And I remember, I thought I saw somewhere that he was part of a radical group that I hadn't heard of, but this sounds pretty amazing. I'll probably talk about this in another video once I read it as well. So that sounds very interesting. And definitely another shout out to Brianna for just getting me back into this kind of reading. Kind of very excited to see what this says. And the last book is has the local flavor. I saw this on my local library. They're doing a Zoom chat with the author. It's Dark August by Katie Tallow. She's from Ottawa. I think this is her debut novel, but she's a screenwriter and director. It's pretty big. It's HarperCollins, so she's definitely got some talent. HarperCollins are a pretty big deal. And apparently this is set literally just up the road, about 5 kilometers, which is basically it's set in the town that I live in. I'm kind of a little hamlet just like 5 kilometers down the road, but this is set in Elgin, Ontario, which if for some reason you ever needed to write me a letter, you would address it to Elgin. It doesn't mention it in the back, but it also does sound quite interesting. So I'll just read the synopsis and then I think that'll conclude this video. Augusta Gus Monet is living an aimless existence with her grifter boyfriend when she learns that her great-grandmother, her last living relative, has just died. Ditching her boyfriend, Gus returns to the home she left as a young girl. Her inheritance turns out to be a dilapidated house and an old dog named Levi. While combining through her great-grandmother's possessions, Gus stumbles across an old trunk filled with long-lost childhood belongings, as well as cold case files that belonged to her mother, a disgraced police detective who died in a car accident when Gus was 8. Documents and photographs she remembers her mother obsessing over. When Gus spots a front-page news story about the unearthing of a body linked to one of the files from her childhood trunk, she can't resist following her mother's clues. Determined to finish her mother's investigation, Gus's search leads her to a deserted ghost town which was abandoned when the residents fled after a horrific fire. As Gus's obsession with the case grows, she inadvertently stirs up the evil of the past, putting her life in danger. But Gus is undeterred and is committed to uncovering long-buried secrets, including those surrounding a missing geology student, a young ballerina, a prominent family's devastating legacy, and a toxic blast that blew an entire town off the map. But is Gus ready to learn the truths that culminated on one terrible August night, more than a decade earlier, when lives were taken and secrets were presumed buried forever? So yeah, that sounds really interesting. I kind of like the kind of familial angle, the kind of probably getting to know her mother through what she was obsessing over. As someone that's a little bit obsessive myself, I can kind of relate to that. And then it's dark covers up, and yeah, and the fact that it's local. I love reading. I love reading books that are set locally. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. I'm just trying to see if there's any mention of Logan. Yeah, anyway, Kitty Tallow is Ottawa. She's Ottawa based. Anyway, so that's just up the road to about an hour and a half. Yeah, very excited for this. Hopefully it's good. Probably, don't know what I'll read first. Maybe I'll read this one first, just because it's so small. It's like 130 pages, 150. And then maybe I'll get stuck right into this. I think the key with me is when I buy books to just try and read them straight away, because that's when I'm most excited about them, and then they won't languish for too long. But I've been trying to get through this for so long. I'm like so little away. I really need to try and read the Penguin History of Canada so I can start getting more in depth into what I already want to read about of Canadian history. But yeah, that was a book haul. So yeah, hope you enjoyed it, and thank you for watching. I'll try and post more recently. I'll try to post more often and stuff, and not leave it 2 weeks at a time. But I do appreciate all of you, and I have been watching all of your channels a lot, so thank you very much. And if you are new to finding me and I haven't commented on one of your videos or whatnot, just let me know. I'll be very interested in watching more booktubers, and hopefully I'll do a shout out video very soon. But anyway, have a great night. Thank you very much.